Hey everybody, it's Dana and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing card number 2 for the Valentine's Day card series, and I thought today we would do a really cute shaker card. So I'm using this paper from Damask Love. It's called Life's a Party, and I had this in my stash for quite some time, so I'm glad I'm using it today. And I'm also going to be using the big XOXO from Simon Says stamp. That's going to help us make our shaker card. So I started out with some white cardstock, and this is 90-pound cardstock. It's very, very thin. And I decided to grab out, isn't this paper, first of all, gorgeous? But I wanted to grab out this hearts paper because, again, it's Valentine's Day. Now, this paper is a little thin for a shaker card, in my opinion. So I am going to layer this up just to give this a little bit of thickness to the paper. Now, within this paper pad, there's so many wonderful designs that you can just use for a background on a card, and you don't have to die cut, because it is kind of a shame that I'm die cutting through all these pretty hearts. Now, in order to make this like a 2-ply paper or a little bit thicker, I am going to use my scrapbook.com, and this is the double-sided adhesive sheet. That's going to allow me to stick these two paper or pieces of paper together to get this cardstock to be a little bit thicker. Now, I'm not quite sure of the weight of this paper, but it is foldable. It does have some thickness to it, but because I was doing my shaker element, I just wanted to have an extra piece of paper on the back. Now, these adhesive sheets are double-sided, so it's going to have its adhesive all the way through the sheet, and that's going to help us to get these two pieces of paper together without having to use a whole bunch of a tape runner or a whole bunch of glue. So I'm just going to line this up over the paper. It's really simple to use this kind of double-sided adhesive sheet, and I'm just going to rub that in. And now all you have to do is remove the release paper from the other side. So you can first see like it was a brown side. I released that paper. So now all I have to do is release this top piece, and that's going to give me another full side of all of that adhesive. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome to all of my return followers. Hello, how are you? I'm glad you guys are here today. Now, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell so you'll be notified when I have another video. Also, don't forget to like and comment. When you guys like a video, it gives me the opportunity to have this video seen by more people. And that's what we want to do in this community, right? Sharing is caring. All right, I have this taped down. I'm just gonna pull that up, and I do have some adhesive that went beyond the paper, but I'm just gonna go ahead and fold that back on itself, and we're gonna be just fine. Now, this paper is larger than what I need because I'm making an A2 card, but I am going to line up my dies on it. Now, once I take this over to my die cutting machine, I am going to trim this down a little bit. But this paper, the size is, I believe, a 6x8. So you could totally do a 5x7 card with just this background and not have to trim this down. And I probably, in order to keep most of the color and the lines of hearts, I probably should have made this a 5x7. But I did know I wanted to make this just a standard size card. So I am going to lose a little bit of those hearts. So I have just a little bit of washi tape here. I'm just going to tape this down, run this over to my trimmer and my die cut machine. All right, once I have all of this cut out, I do want to make my card panel first. So I do have some Nina White. This is 110-pound cardstock, and I'm scoring that at 4 1/4, and we'll just fold that over, and that'll be a standard size A2 card. Now, I want to do some ink blending behind those letters. So that's the reason I needed to make my card base first. So as I have my card base here, I can go ahead and pull in that beautiful cover plate. And look how pretty that's going to be. Again, I did lose a couple of rows of the hearts, but I'm okay with that. Now, of course, to make this a shaker card, we are going to need a sheet of acetate. I really love the Hero Arts sheets of acetate. I think they're a really good thickness for shaker cards, and they're really easy to cut. And they come in sheets already cut down for you, so they're not like the larger sheets. They're already cut down so you can go ahead and make them into your shaker cards. So I did need to trim off just a little bit because this panel that I trimmed down is just a tad bit smaller than the card base. I'll make sure to have all the products that I use on today's card listed down below. So I went ahead and I trimmed that off. Now before we get started, I want to know where to lay my colors. So I want to have color between, or behind rather, each X and O. So in order for me to achieve that, I have to mark out where each one of these letters are. So all I'm going to do is grab a pencil and I'm going to lightly just give myself some reference marks. And all I know at this point is I just need to blend the color between these reference marks. Now you could trace all the way around. I don't feel the need to do that as long as I know where my top and my bottom is. Now for the circle, I am going to trace all the way around just to make sure that I get the color behind the entire circle. So as you can see, it's traced down on the card. I am going to grab myself an eraser and just kind of lighten up those lines just a little bit because I don't want to get too much of the pencil line trapped behind the color. So if you're going to do ink blending after you have traced something out, lighten up those lines. Otherwise, they're going to get trapped underneath your ink blending. All right, I can just clean that off real quick and now we can get into the ink blending. I did pick some colors from Concord and Ninth, and they are Buttercup, Honeysuckle, Arctic Sky, and Midnight because they match this paper perfectly. Now all I want to do is kind of arrange where I want each one of these colors. I do kind of want to coordinate the colors with how the paper is running. So I am going to be sure to like switch the top two around so I have the blue on one side and the yellow on the other. Now remember, this is already my card base and I don't want to get ink everywhere. So I do grab myself some mint tape. This mint tape is from scrapbook.com and it's a nice wide tape. So I'm just going to go ahead and place that down, being careful just to leave myself a little bit of a gap between the letters, but I don't want to cover them up. But again, I want to mask this off because this is my card base. Once I have everything where I'm just blocking in the X's and the O's, I know that my color is going to be contained into that area. I'm going to try to make this as straight as I can on my glass mat, press that down, make sure that I have those corners so I'm not getting any of that bleed underneath. And then I'm going to go ahead and start laying in my color. Now I did use some smaller blending brushes from Altenew to do each one of these sections. I did make sure to have one just for each color family so I was not contaminating. Now I'm not really going heavy-handed in this. I just want a light amount of color behind. Now I felt if the color was too strong, I was making sure to tap it off on that tape before I was bringing it over to the area that I needed to do that ink blending. And that just kind of knocks back that color and it's not as strong on this background. So as you can see here, really with that honeysuckle, I really wanted most of that color knocked back. I did not want it to be too strong. So as you can see, I'm really using that tape border around to knock off some of that color. And once I have all these areas filled in, I can go ahead and move or pull back rather that mint tape. But look how pretty this is. It just gives me a little bit of color right behind each one of my letters. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now I do have that piece of acetate already trimmed down for this shaker card. I am going to use some Gina Kane Connect glue, and this is in one of her little bottles. I really love these bottles because I like the tip of them. And I'm just going to add a little bit of glue all the way around. Now, I always say when you're doing these shaker cards and you're using the acetate is to make sure you don't use too much glue, because when you go to flip your cover piece, on top of your acetate. If you use too much adhesive, it's going to end up squirting out and getting all over your acetate. So you want to have enough glue to make sure that this sticks to your acetate, but you don't want the glue to be overflowing onto the acetate. So I just have enough there that I know it's going to stick. I gently flip this over, and when I place this down, I don't press too hard because otherwise I'm going to squirt that glue out. So as you can see, I lightly put it on there, and I go around kind of pushing the glue away from the openings. So you see I'm pushing it away. And now it's just time to add in our foam tape. Now I did double up this foam tape. This is the 3M foam tape. I just folded it back on itself. So that allows me to have some good depth to this card. And I just trimmed out a couple of pieces. Now, mind you, I'm not going around every single letter in order to have every letter with like a capsule area where just the glitter and my doodads that I'm putting inside are going to stay just in that area. It's okay if it flows across this card. Now, this time, because I'm doing my panel a little bit smaller than my card base, I decided to put my glitter, which this is the Hero Arts. I believe this is snowflake glitter. They might still have some on their page. If not, you can use the, I think it's called Earth Safe glitter, and put that in your shaker cards as well. I'm just adding a little bit of this just for some shimmer and shine. Next, I'm going to come in with some sequins, and I'm just putting it in each area, and that's just going to allow me to know that I'm going to have enough shaker bits to fill up or almost fill up each section. Now, when I'm doing these kind of cards, I don't want anything to compete with my color. So that's why I'm using more of an iridescent kind of sequence and glitter and not a colored glitter. I really don't want anything to interfere with my background paper. And now I'm just coming in with these little clear, I think they're called like baubles. I'll make sure to link them down below. They're like big size and small size, and these are the smaller ones. And I'm making sure to put some in each one of these color background pieces. I do kind of like clean up between the middle and like scoot everything over to its side so that I don't have a lot of the glitter and embellishments being stuck behind my tape. Now I'm just going to line this up, and I'm actually going to stand up out of my chair so I can kind of get over this, to make sure that when I place this down on my card base, I'm as even as I can on all four sides. Once I get it there, I can go ahead and press that down, and I'm really pressing good to have a good seal on this. And look how pretty this shaker card is. The elements still flow between each section, but I know I have enough shaker bits in there not to overwhelm the background, but just enough to have it shaking. Now, I did want to add a sentiment right between the XOXO. So I'm using the new Hero Arts Loving Sentiment strips. And I feel these are nice and thin enough to go between the top XO and the bottom XO. I just have a piece of scratch paper here. I'm going to line up my stamp and go ahead and stamp this down. Now, I don't want to stamp this in black because there really is no black on this card. So I'm just going to grab one of the colors that I use to do my ink blending. And I think I want to go with the lighter color or the honeysuckle color, because I think the yellow might get lost and I think the blue might get lost, the aqua color. So I decided to go with this color because, you know, it is Valentine's Day and I didn't want to use red. So I have this perfect pink. Now, I told you in the last video, anytime you have these thinner sentiments, I don't want you to like press down really hard on this because it's going to bloom those sentiments. So even if you have to stamp it more than once, I recommend you do that with a very light touch in order to get the best impression out of this. So you can see I'm just going over with my finger. I'm not really pressing hard on this. It might look like it, but I'm not. And I just kind of rub it over just to make sure that I get that ink in contact with that paper. So now I have a bunch of sentiments I can pick from to go ahead and add to this card. Now, I believe Hero Arts might have a coordinating die for this. Don't quote me on that one. But I decided that I can just use my mini paper trimmer. I believe this is from Tonic and Tim Holtz, I believe. And I can just trim down just the sentiment that I need. And then I can just put the other sentiments aside for a later date. So I'll just go ahead and line that up. And using this mini trimmer in that guide, it gives me the perfect opportunity to trim this down. All right, once I have that trimmed down, I am going to just grab a thin strip of foam tape, place that on the back, and then like I said, I want to center this between the X and the O from the top to the bottom. And I think just adding a nice simple sentiment really finishes off this card nicely. So I do kind of lift that up to make sure I'm getting that straight. Now, if you didn't want to add a sentiment, I still think this card will look just as gorgeous. For me, I could have just put a sentiment on the inside, but I think that I love you completely is just a perfect sentiment for a Valentine's Day card. Now, lastly, I do want to make sure that I put back in the areas of the O's in the XOXO. Now, to get these lined up a little bit more accurately, I am going to use my tweezers from Hero Arts. And this is going to allow me to kind of like pick up these pieces here and go ahead and put that glue on the back. Again, I'm using the Gina K Connect glue for today in this smaller little bottle. Now, once I get this down, that is pretty much going to finish off the card. But look how gorgeous this shaker card is. You could totally do this with all kinds of background paper. And if you're a hoarder of background paper like I am, like the 6x6 paper pads, bust out those paper pads and start using them for your cards. All right, everybody, that is day 2 of the holiday card series. I will see you guys for day 3 here shortly. Have a great day, everybody, and stay safe. Bye-bye.